What is Agenda 2030? It's a long-running agenda. I don't think it's as new as we often portray it to be. The people that own the resources of the world, who have appropriated those resources to themselves, because God did not bestow the petrol, the oil, the minerals in the ground to anybody. One must take those things. One must build an army and take them. So I don't think anybody would deny that that was already happening. And, you know, what's Agenda 2030? Agenda 2030 is very much a levelling up of the control of those resources. If I had to sum it up in just, you know, one sentence, which I won't, of course, but that's where I would sort of land, you know, that technology having improved, having all these innovations simply means that they can appropriate those resources in a more complex way, in a different way, in a more comprehensive way. So that's why it's always good to refer.
Your connection
is Agenda 20.
Cindy, sorry, can you repeat that? Your connection is playing up, so that's why it's always good to start.
Okay. Can you tell me what you last heard?
So you were saying the sentence, that's why it's always good to start, and I think yep.
Right. Okay, so that's why it's always good to reference the other terms that Agenda 30 comes with. So Agenda 2030 or Agenda 30 simply refers to the milestone of 2030, the decade. Prior to that, it was called Agenda 21, and it still is referenced as that, meaning the agenda for the 21st century, which gives us the proper sort of positioning. It gives us context in the landscape that this is actually a very long-term plan with steps along the way. So another one of the terms that's used to refer to Agenda 2030 is the fourth industrial revolution. And I think that one really sort of hits the nail on the head because it highlights how much technology is a component in what is happening to our lives now, because all of the prior industrial revolutions were about machinery, and they were always about scaling. So scaling up production through the use of machinery, which eventually, through the evolution of industrialization, became automation. And so we were at a place or at a point in time where this machinery and this automation, this technology, made it possible that pretty much most of the world's goods were being produced in one country. It's not a secret that China has a very large population, but to be making everything for the entire world, and I talk in generalizations, of course there are exceptions, is quite phenomenal. You know, if we go back 100, 200 years or 150 years, your kitchen table had to be made quite locally because who was going to carry it? You know, it was very heavy. It couldn't come from too far away, but we got to a point where furniture designed in Sweden, made with parts from all over the world, manufactured in China, and then shipped out again to every corner of the earth. So this is the process of industrialization, automation, and machination and all of that. And we get to the fourth industrial revolution, where we're kind of at the cusp now of, well, we've automated everything we can automate, but have we? No, because now we can pretty much automate humanity. And this is stretching into that 100-year plan that I referred to earlier. So, you know, what is Agenda 2030? Going back again now, it is primarily an economic plan, which appropriates not just the resources we have come to know, which are oil and gold and titanium and cobalt and all those things. Now we're wanting to monetize, manage, there's another M word, manage, monetize, and something else beginning with M, everything on the planet, including the natural resources, including the oxygen in the air, the carbon in the air, the droplets of water that, you know, get filtered through the mountain. So it's an upscaling. Another way of seeing it, another term we can use would be globalization 4.0. And so it's a whole system. It's very much predicated on the economy, because the economy is what drives our interactions and pretty much everything that we do. So I know that sounds very cold, you know, and it sounds like a discrete aspect of life, the economy. But if we stop thinking of, you know, just our immediate sort of selves, and because as an individual, my life isn't the economy, that doesn't make much sense. But in fact, you know, getting onto having this computer that I'm using now, that I'm talking to you, that I have an account online, all these are actually economic transactions that I've made. We have made a contract. There's a little contract in here between us. I mean, we only pushed a few buttons and, you know, we're just talking to each other. But the fact of the matter is that these are all electronic and economic transactions. Everything I do, whether it's popping out to buy bread or buy chicken feed or attend a course or do a job, get paid for a job, pay somebody to do a job, pay the rent, pay the bills, everything is very much an economic transaction. So when we start there and we see that we're reinventing the wheel here, we're changing the economy. We're moving from money and energy in the sense of you know, petrol and power and gas and things. We're moving into a carbon credit economy. And so another term they use is the reset, the Great Reset. So if one would listen to Klaus Schwab, who has become, you know, not the notorious sort of poster boy of the World Economic Forum and this Great Reset, he talks about reimagining and redeveloping and rethinking, repurposing, reimagining, redeveloping. Maybe I'm repeating myself with the REs, but when you start doing that with an economy, it actually kind of fans out into reimagining the healthcare system, reimagining education, reimagining work, reimagining the transport, reimagining food systems. And that's a big one. So what is Agenda 2030? Well, so the same players pretty much that already owned the resources that our old economy was founded upon decided, well, we kind of want a little bit more of the planet. Let's not just, the oil, we've got that. We've got our armies looking after that. Well, let's go for the water. Let's go for the fresh water, and let's also limit people's ability to consume food, energy, and all sorts of things. So, and that won't be based on how much money you can make in a job. We're talking about a new game. I mean, you referenced Monopoly earlier on. It's kind of like they're taking that board game away from us now. It's the one we knew. It wasn't fair and it wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the one we understood. That if you toil and work hard enough, and some people, get by in life with one job and one career, and other people need to have 4 jobs, and still they struggle. But it's what we knew. Now they've taken away that Monopoly board and they're presenting us a totally new game board, which is not so much about our labor. And that is because the machines can do our labor now. Machines have been learning human labor for a long time. I made a post the other day, which included a screenshot that a friend had sent me. And it was just an automated service thing. It was actually the UK Telecom. I don't know exactly what they're called. And at the bottom it said, our phone calls may be used, monitored and recorded for training purposes. And there was a little flashbulb moment there where I realized, oh, all these years I thought they were, using those recordings to train their employees or new employees, when in fact they've been training the machines all this time.